PT, more like pretty terrific.
Poopy toilet!
Poopy toilet.
What are you talking about? PT?
Phallic triangle.
Please stop. That's demerit. Anyone who says anyone who prescribes
triage.
demerit.
Erectile dysfunction.
If you guys don't stop calling playable teasers something else, I'm gonna get really upset.
Wait, playable teasers?
That's what
That's not
PT
better.
Isn't that a demo, Roland?
Triangle joke, and I realized it's a P and
Demerit. Anyway, one more of those, and I'm actually kicking you out of this house.
Oh.
What?
Does he have the power to do that?
No.
Well, you're gonna get fired.
Fired from what?
From Shaka you. No one
Sitting
work
there.
with us. Alright, we gotta talk about PT, right? So
Yeah.
let's say it's Gamescom 2014 and an indie studio called 7780s Studio is announcing that they're working on a cool new horror game. And they're releasing a playable teaser of it for free on the PlayStation Store that you can play. Remember, in 2014, there was the big like indie horror craze that was going on. So like that's when Markiplier was at like the height of his popularity.
Hell yeah, he was.
Yeah, that's when like Five Nights at Freddy's and Slender Man and all that shit was coming out. Outlast, Amnesia.
I was there.
So everyone was all about indie horror, and so PT comes out as an indie horror game, and it looks way better than an indie game I've ever played. Like it looks super realistic. If you've seen PT, you know what I'm talking about. But it looks like 1-to-1 with reality. Almost.
Literally, yeah.
It's very realistic. So what is PT exactly? What the fuck is this game? All right. So the concept of PT is you're stuck in a looping hallway, and every time you exit one end of the hallway, you end out back at the other end that you came from.
Yep.
So, as you're stuck in this hallway trying to figure out a way to not be stuck in a hallway, a ghost is chasing you named Lisa. Lisa is this, like, she's wearing like a white cloak, like a white, like sort of dress gown. She's bloodied up. There are vomit stains going from her mouth to the edge of her chin. She has one of her eyes gouged out, and she's wearing one high heel.
Sexual.
Fucking sexual, am I right? So, there's a bunch of other weird stuff that's going on. There's a fetus in a sink.
There
That's
is.
like one in this game.
Oh, mega sexual.
There is.
There's a dried up fetus in a sink that is constantly screaming. You have to go into the bathroom to get the flashlight in this game, and once you pick it up, the door behind you locks and you're stuck there with the screaming fetus.
Oh my God.
While Lisa comes up from the other end of the room and like tries to get into the bathroom, fails and then leaves, and then right as she leaves, the door opens.
Yep.
So what we know is you don't have any power over wherever the fuck you are. Lisa doesn't have any power over wherever the fuck you are, but she seems to have more than you at least, because she can just follow you and do a bunch of weird ghost shit.
Yeah.
Alright, I forgot to mention that this game has an opening line that's going to be very important for later, so I gotta pull that up because it's... So I can quote this verbatim. At the beginning of the game, it goes, quote, "The gap in the door is a separate reality. The only me is me. Are you sure the only you is you?"
Ew.
Oh.
That's gross.
Okay.
No.
Before we get into all the other weird shit about this game, there's some, like, well, let's get to the other weird shit about this game before we move on. There's a radio in the hallway that is playing, like, the news, and a lot of the news...
Huh? Can you open this one?
Keep going. I'm excited.
The news is reporting on like an epidemic of fathers killing their families. It is like a series of familicides that are happening, but then sometimes... Oh,
No.
It's okay.
Did you want me to move the curtain?
All good. All good. Yeah.
Okay, you were not sure with yours.
Yeah, I understand.
Right there.
Ooh, indie horror.
Okay.
Tyler, what do you want?
That.
Thank you. No.
Okay.
Okay.
More light in his face.
Are we good? Can I continue, please?
No, please continue. I'm so sorry
No,
for my distraction.
Okay, so there's a radio that's reporting on a series of fathers killing their families, and sometimes the radio cuts out with another voice telling you to give in to paranoia. You can't trust the tap water. Look behind you. Stuff about like, fuck you, buddy. It's weird, am I right?
Yeah.
On one occasion, the Radio is possessed by a Swedish ghost that you have to translate from Swedish to English. That basically tells you that the War of the Worlds radio broadcast was real and aliens are
Holy
with
shit.
us.
Sexual.
Okay. Okay.
How do you translate this in game?
You don't translate it in game. You have to actually
No, yeah.
write it out in Google Translate and fucking or contact your Swedish friends
Yeah, or
and
no
have them
Swedish.
translate it.
Is that important for the game, or is it just like a fun thing?
It's important for this lecture, but although you do have to do some equally crazy shit to actually beat this game, that's not part of it.
Because I would not do that.
Okay, then you would
Yeah.
not have been able to beat this game without a guide.
I can do it for you.
Okay.
Let's talk about how you actually beat PT, because to this day, people still aren't sure what the exact solution to the end is. All we know is on the final loop of the game, you have to wait until midnight in-game, walk forward 10 steps, say the name of the father who killed his family
Oh my
that the hallway is in,
Jesus.
or someone's name. We don't know whose name. All we know is it starts with a J or something. And then your controller will start to vibrate. You put the controller down and you just wait for it to pass.
I don't like that.
And then
Yeah.
once the controller stops vibrating, you can pick up the phone nearby and like all it says is like, you've been chosen. The person hangs up, you walk out, that's the end of the game.
I love indie horror.
I know.
Fucking love indie.
So, how the fuck would you have figured that one out? There are, like I said, like you had to translate from Swedish to English. There are a lot of other things in this game that you would have had to translate. There are like phrases in all sorts of different languages that will appear on your screen for one frame and just disappear, and it will be like in German or whatever. So you would like be walking around and you get this phrase on the screen that says, "I wait for it to pass," and then it goes away. And then another one that's like German gibberish that you don't understand because you don't speak German, and then it goes away. You would have to take these phrases, translate them to English, and put them in the correct order, and it describes the exact chain of events that you go through at the end of the game. And then there's also like hints at like the person whose name you have to say starts with a J because J is the only name that you ever see written out in game. There's also one like weird, like sometimes you can hear like a weird boy saying backwards, "I walked 10 steps before Jack." And some people think Jack is the correct name, but people have tried to say Jack at the end and it doesn't work. People have tried to say Jareth and that works. Question.
How do we know it has to be a J?
There's like a message in the game that is signed J, and people started trying to guess with that, and they started guessing different names, and some of them worked. But only names we have gotten to work in this are names that start with a J.
So how many names have worked?
I don't remember the exact number, but it's like Jareth, Jake.
Like Jared from Labyrinth?
Yeah, like Jareth from Labyrinth.
Is there like
It's connected.
is there like a canon name that is actually supposed to be used?
If there is, we don't know it
Oh,
because we
okay.
haven't been able to figure it out. A lot of people believe that you are supposed to say Jack, but because of how like voice recognition works, it sort of gets muddled, and so it needs to be something else you have to say, which is why Jareth works, because it's like Jack or something like that. So maybe it's weirdly, but whatever. That's the end of PT.
What
Question.
console is it on?
PlayStation.
Is that it?
Yes.
PlayStation 4.
So they have a voice recognition. Yeah, like you have to
Yeah.
physically
I
say
didn't even
out
know
loud.
that PS4 had voice recognition.
You have to plug in a mic.
Oh.
Like you have to
Oh.
plug in your own mic.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Wow.
Also, are we gonna say who the?
Oh yeah, we're
the
getting
person
into
is-
everything.
person is- Oh, there's more.
Okay, there's still more. This
Sick.
lecture isn't over. So once you beat the game, there's a little bit of a phrase at the end that says, quote, "Dad was such a drag. Every day he'd eat the same kind of food, dress the same, sit in front of the same kinds of games. Yeah, he was just that kind of guy. But then one day he goes and kills us all. He couldn't even be original about the way he did it. I'm not complaining. I was dying of boredom anyways. But guess what? I will be coming back, and I'm bringing my new toys with me." This seemingly is the sink fetus talking.
Oh, wait, that has some implications.
Yeah. So there's other stuff in the game where the fetus talks to you, and it talks about how the father got drunk and lost his job, and the mom had to work at a grocery store, and the manager was coming on to her or something. Really weird shit, right? But then
There's lore.
it gets better. because the ending cutscene of the game is your main character walking as the credits play. The first credit that shows up is Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, what?
Guillermo del Toro.
I seen, like-
Next up, Hideo Kojima.
Yeah!
What?
Del
And the
Toro
final-
worked on that?
Guillermo del Toro. Yes.
This is PT?
PT.
That's what it's called?
Yes.
I might have to actually fucking play it now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I'm gonna have to apologize to you real quick. Guillermo del Toro, Hideo Kojima, Norman Reedus, Silent Hills. This is the teaser for a new Silent Hill game.
Oh.
Just after people figure out how to do this, because the first time this puzzle was solved was on accident during a live stream. So once people figure out that this game is a big teaser for Silent Hills, Konami fires Hideo Kojima,
What?
cancels Silent Hills,
Yup.
and removes PT from the PlayStation Store.
Yup.
When
Why?
you said you wanted to play this game, it's not available anymore.
It
Why
doesn't.
does the fetus look like that?
Why are we doing this?
You're gonna
Isn't this like the point? Like you come in here, you learn about something, you go home, you listen to Owl City. Now I can't go home and fucking.
No,
play
you can watch other people play it, or you can buy a $1,000 PS4 that already has it installed because that's the only way to play it.
It's like Flappy.
Why did they cancel it just because people figured it out? Isn't the whole point for fans to figure it out and get
They
excited?
didn't cancel it because people figured it out. I'm gonna try to explain to you the theory as to why people believe PT was canceled.
Why does the fetus look so fucking...
Because it's dried up and fucked up.
Ew.
Why? Yeah,
I was imagining a
why
race
does it-
fetus until you said it was
It
dry.
looks like a bowling pin.
You ever seen a race, man?
Okay.
David Lynch lecture win.
If you
So,
go back, there's like I googled it.
there's a big, like, 30-minute long video by The Great Debate that tries to
hate it. That's awesome.
figure out why this game was canceled. And so we're gonna get into some corporate shenanigans in Konami.
I love capitalism.
Alright, okay.
Thanks,
So,
Tyler.
let's go all the way back to 2010, and Hideo Kojima decides he wants to start working on a new Metal Gear Solid game.
That's right.
Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. And he wants a new engine to work on.
And I can't play it. And I can't play. I'm sorry.
Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. He also wants to make a new engine for this game to run on, the Fox engine.
Sexy.
Konami agrees to give him a budget for this, as long as he agrees that they can use the Fox engine to make other games. He accepts this, and he starts work on Metal Gear Solid 5 and the Fox engine. Years go by, Konami has spent $100 million on this game.
Wow.
And the engine. A lot of fucking money. And as Kojima is spending money on it, like, let's go all the way up to 2012, he decides he wants to work on a new Silent Hill game as well. And so he starts working on a pitch, sends it to Guillermo del Toro. Del Toro says, yes, I want to work on this game. Sends it to Norman Reedus, yes.
Not to interrupt, but I need a reminder. Who is Guillermo del Toro again?
He made Pan's Labyrinth.
You
And
know
The
the
Shape of
movie where you they fuck the
I
fish?
love The Shape of Water.
Nope.
The Shape
You know
of
Hellboy?
Oh yeah, he also did the
He did
Hellboy.
Hellboy.
Yeah.
Do you know
Fucking
Blade
dope.
2? You know Blade 2?
No.
Oh, he
He
did
doesn't-
Blade?
He did the second
It's okay,
Blade.
so he directs movies.
He's a big movie.
Oh, yeah,
He does
fun
some
fact.
crazy shit.
Wait,
Yeah,
fun
he's
fact.
a big, like,
Alien
crazy
or
movie
I'm
director.
saying.
Yes.
It's like,
Fun
He's on
fact
Alien?
I found out the
Work,
Shape
he
of
didn't
Water
direct.
takes place
Huh?
in Baltimore.
He did that.
Can I real quick, since I'm like the film student here?
Okay, yeah.
Guillermo del Toro is famous for making monster movies that are artsy.
Okay.
And so the fact that he's moving and validating the indie horror scene was really big.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I want to.
Del Toro does Monsters good.
I wanna
You're hearing
say-
Oh,
that-
he also
you're
did
hearing that
Troll
from us,
Hunters on
fucker.
Netflix.
I want to
So
step it forward because I believe at some point Junji Ito was working on this game too. So they have fucking everyone
What
on
is
this
this, a
game.
crossover?
But then why did they cancel it? Because that's
We're
a
gonna
great team!
Okay, it's 2012. Konami spent $100 million on Metal Gear Solid 5, and Kojima wants to make a new Silent Hill game. He's pitching it to all these people, and they're like, yes, this looks amazing. This will be the best game ever. They all send them to Konami, and Konami's like, you're still working on Metal Gear Solid 5. We spent $100 million on that, and you want more money to make another game. No. At this point, there's another person rising in the ranks of Konami. His name is
George
Hideki.
Romero.
His name is Hideki Hayakawa, and he made a mobile game called Dragon Collection.
I I just recognize that name, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Which Hideki Hayakawa?
Yeah.
Yeah, all he's made is like
Is that the
really
only thing
cheap
he's
mobile
done?
games.
Oh, okay.
So he makes a game called Dragon Collection, and it's basically just a gachapon kind of game. But it starts making $1 million a day for Konami.
Dang.
So this cheap mobile game is making them bonkers money. Kojima is making them nothing and is costing them a bunch to make this big new AAA game.
But Metal Gear Solid 5 made a lot of money. Like a lot of money.
We'll get to that, but right now
we're
they
not
haven't
getting to it
made
fast
their
enough.
money
We're
back
not getting
yet.
to it fast
Not in 2012. They haven't made their money yet.
Ezri's pissed.
So
I'm frustrated. I'm like, this is really cool.
yes. So
It's making no fucking
I
sense.
mean, it's Konami.
So, remember, at this point, Silent Hills was already canceled in 2012. He was said that this game is not supposed to be made. Hideki Hayakawa is rising in the ranks. Eventually, Kojima gets demoted and Hayakawa gets promoted, so now they're on the same level in Konami right now.
Yeah.
They decide, all right, Kojima has still not released, like in 2013, right? Kojima still hasn't released Metal Gear Solid 5. We still haven't made our money back on this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut off his contract after this new 2-year thing. So he has 2 years to finish this game in the Fox engine. We'll use the Fox engine to make some cheap, kick soccer ball games. And then Hideki Hayakawa will replace him as our big money maker. He'll make a bunch of mobile games for us that will make us a lot of money. Kojima does not take this very well. That not only is he getting fired from the company, but the game that he's been spending 3 years on, he now only has 2 more years to finish. And the Fox engine is being used to make cheap games. So what he decides to do is he decides to work on Silent Hills in secret.
Oh.
PT. So he gets the team that's working on Metal Gear Solid 5 at the time. So he starts trying to get them to work together on PT, that new game that they decide to start making. And how Kojima handles this is that he starts promoting it as look, Konami's doing a bunch of wacky stuff right now, and you don't want to be in this dead-end job. So why don't you quit after we make PT, how about we all quit and we start Kojima Productions?
Hell yeah.
Oh. Okay,
So they're like, all right, that sounds pretty cool. And so they all start working on PT in secret. Konami doesn't know this game is being made. And so when
This has got to be a breach of contract.
Yeah.
Oh, probably, yeah.
This is that's bad.
This is like
So-
fraud.
But also that's hilarious.
So another thing about this is that Kojima has an NDA, so he's not allowed to talk about this with anyone. About all the stuff that Konami's been doing, how Kojima's been treated by the company. He can't talk about that. So the only way he has to vent is through what he knows best, and that's making games. PT is a big game that he makes. One, to show off why Konami's been doing bad stuff, and also to get around NDA so he can vent for a little bit. So if you take that context and look at a lot of the lines in the game, it makes a lot more sense. Let me pull back that last quote. Dad was such a drag. Every day he'd eat the same kind of food, dress the same, sit in front of the same kinds of games. Then one day he goes and kills us all. I'm not complaining. I was dying of boredom anyways. But guess what? I will be coming back, and I'm bringing my new toys with me.
That's fucking sexy. I am so horny right now. Oh my god.
That's so much less
so
scary
horny.
than
Swap spots.
I was like, oh, this is
What?
about the video game.
Remember the quote at the beginning, only me is me. Are you sure the only you is you is meant to refer to the fact that Kojima is this big artist boy that is not replaceable, but Hayakawa is, because he just makes cheap mobile games.
Yeah.
So that's a dig on him.
Now Kojima goes on to make Death Stranding, right?
Yes.
Is that at his own company?
Yes, that's with Kojima Productions. That's funded by Sony.
Go.
Who is the people? PT gets removed because after it's revealed that it was a teaser for Silent Hills, Konami is angry because 1, Kojima wasn't supposed to be making this fucking game. 2, there's not going to be a fucking Silent Hills. And 3, this game looks like he's trying to get past NDA very sneakily. So we take that off the market. Kojima is fired officially. Before he was just, his contract was no longer being renewed. And that game he was working on, Metal Gear Solid 5, we're gonna put microtransactions in it because that's what's making money with Dragon Collection. And we have no reason to believe that Metal Gear Solid 5 is gonna make nearly as much as we spent on it. So they decide, like, okay, you want new stuff in Metal Gear Solid 5? You want a costume in the single-player game? $5, please. You want this and this and this? Give us money. Microtransactions.
Is that why Metal Gear Solid 5 made so much money?
I don't know. I don't know how much money Metal Gear Solid 5 made, but I do know it won a Game of the Year award after Kojima was fired from the company, so he couldn't come to the Games Awards to accept his award for the game he made. His name is removed from all of Konami's advertising.
Oh.
So he is, like, not credited in the game.
That's fucked
At
up.
least on the box art. Along with this, people have found like weird secrets in Metal Gear Solid 5 that like the devs put in like clues to like Kojima Productions forever. Like we're betraying Konami. Oh my fuck Konami.
De facto,
Yeah.
motherfucker.
So then Konami, as we all know, Konami goes on to make a bunch of fucking Silent Hill game, like pachinko machine games, on like a bunch of phone games. Like it's Pyramid Head, and he's yelling at you to pull the lever to get all the pachinko balls.
That's stupid.
It's like Solid Snake, and he's crawling on the grass when you gotta hit the lever. They make Metal Gear Survive, and if you don't know anything about Metal Gear Survive, you have to buy extra game save slots.
What?
They cost $10 each, and if you don't pay up, you get one, and that's it.
Oh.
What?
Dude, that's actually brilliant, though.
Generation.
Yeah. So
I hate that I can say that.
that's what Konami's been doing. Meanwhile, Kojima made Death Stranding, which received like what, 5 or 6 Game of the Year
Hell
awards.
yeah!
And Traverches, which is that indie band I keep playing, made a song for Death Stranding
Bring
at
the
the end.
Horizon has a song in it.
Right?
Yeah!
So, Death Stranding is doing very successfully, and it gets a lot of criticism because people thought it was going to be Silent Hills, or what Silent Hills was going to be, but it wasn't because Kojima wasn't working on Silent Hills anymore.
Fun fact though, Norman Reedus was still in it.
All of them were still in it. Guillermo del Toro,
Wait,
everyone
Guillermo del
was
Toro contributed to Death Stranding?
Guillermo del Toro was like the co-director.
in the game.
He's a character in the game.
Oh, shit.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, but you play as Norman Reedus. Guillermo del Toro is like one of the main characters. Junji Ito isn't working on it, unfortunately, but Hideo Kojima is, and it's a very successful game, and that's why PT is such a big deal.
So
everybody.
fuck Konami.
Fuck Konami!
Yeah.
Question.
Hot take. This actually worked out really well.
For
Because
Konami or for Kojima?
for the world.
Okay.
Because as cool as Silent Hills would have been, it would have always had this shadow of other companies on it. And I feel like by making this rant piece and then completely separating and making something new in the game world, like a new franchise, he did more good. I feel like Death Stranding is probably better than how Silent Hills would have ended up because it couldn't have lived up to the hype.
I don't necessarily know that, but I agree that like it was a good choice for Kojima to leave Konami, considering how abusive that company is.
Yeah.
Just a little aside, like while this is all going on, there are like people reporting on like the inner workings of Konami and like how horrible those working conditions are. One journalist decides to go undercover to get a job working at Konami, and they just sort of like send emails out and stuff. The first hour they were working at this, they didn't have a computer to work on.
What? What did they do?
Once they didn't do anything. They just waited for a computer for 1 hour so they could do their job.
Sat there in the office.
And then meanwhile, like, after that happens, right, they get the computer. They're not given an email to work with, so they have to do all their work on a Hotmail address.
What the fuck?
People who are fired from Konami are blacklisted from the industry. This is such a common practice in Konami that these people are known as ex-cons. Question.
Is this just the Japanese industry they're blacklisted from, or will American game companies also not hire them?
I don't know the specifics of it. All I know is they're blacklisted from the industry. And I think this is like common practice nowadays with a lot of gaming studios.
Because the government isn't regulating them as harshly as they're regulating Hollywood.
Yeah, well, anyways, that's PT, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Fuck Konami.
Shaka, you.
Fuck Konami!
Fuck Konami. Fuck Konami. Fuck Konami.
Hideo, bitch.
Hideo Kojima.
Kojima, bitch.
Also, Blue Boxes and Konami, please Kojima, please shut the fuck up about that. Thank you.
I thought you were gonna walk out. And
Yeah.
Very good.
A Kojima production.